Good evening. This regular meeting of December 12th, 2016 of the Dubuque Community School District Board of Education is called to order. Our mission is to develop world-class learners and citizens of character in a safe and inclusive learning community. Roll call, please.
Mr. Barton.
Here.
Mr. Bartine.
Here.
Mr. Donahue.
Here.
Mr. Prohaska.
Here.
Ms. Ryan. Here. Ms. Siegert.
Here.
Ms. Whitman.
Here.
Thank you. We're joined this evening with a group from Eleanor Roosevelt Middle School. Mr. Joel.
Good evening. I'm Mr. Joel, the principal at Roosevelt, and I'm pleased to welcome some of our students to help lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hi, I'm Corinne Meyer. Hi, I'm Aubrey Marquardt. Hi, I'm Paige Vasson. Hi, I'm Beth Joel. Hi, I'm Madison Sampson Brown.
Hi, I'm Allison Kloss.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if your dad's a principal, you can't get out and come to recite the...
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the agenda as submitted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move that the Board of Education approve the minutes of the regular meeting on November 14th, 2016 as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the minutes of the regular meeting on November 14th, 2016 as submitted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, this brings us to Red Carpet Recognition Teacher of the Year, and I believe Dr. Dan Johnson is going to come forward.
Absolutely. I'll
After
just jump in real quick. Teacher of the Year is an important honor that we choose every year within the district. Certainly this year is no exception. We have an outstanding teacher that was chosen. Many of you know who the Teacher of the Year because the selection was actually made last spring. But since he gets to reign all year long, we also recognize Teacher of the Year in November, which is Teacher Appreciation Month. This year, Teacher of the Year comes from senior high school, so Dr. Dan Johnson will come and do the introductions.
Good evening. It gives me great pleasure and indeed an honor to stand before the school board tonight and introduce the 2015-16 Teacher of the Year, one of our Rams and an amazing teacher. And I'm proud to say that he has taught my own child, Mr. Lewis Fitcher.
Yeah, we'll give him this out here, take a picture, and then we'll give him a chance to say a few words. Just a few. Thanks for noticing. Okay, congratulations. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you very much. Congratulations. If you want to say a few words. Sure.
Thank you. I want to just reiterate what I think I said last May, what an incredible and humbling honor it is to be recognized as the Teacher of the Year. I avoid cliches at all costs, and the cringeworthy ones are the ones that really get me. And somebody had said this the other day, just in passing, and you cringe to hear them, but you just don't say anything. And the idea that, oh, it takes a village to raise a kid, it's like, yeah. Then I thought about it, and there's really a lot of truth to that. And the village, in my opinion, are the teachers. And it starts with your parents, obviously. I'm blessed with two wonderful parents, and I'm so grateful to what they've been able to do for me. But beyond that, I can trace from kindergarten through college to now the best parts of my life to the teachers I've had. I could name, if I had to, all of my teachers. And that's important. I think that the timeline of my life is punctuated by great teachers and coaches. Mr. Prohaska, my chemistry teacher, who there was one lab that I had where I squirted one of my lab partners with a water bottle. He told me the value of lab safety. That was a very important lesson. Mr. Barton, Tom was my coach for every sport that I had in middle school, and you've got teachers, you've got coaches through elementary school, middle school. My high school coaches were very meaningful to me. And my college professors and coaches were incredibly meaningful to me. And my mentors when I came back to teach in Dubuque were wonderful. I wouldn't have survived without Rob Gamal, Sue Dodd, Dennis Healy, Sue Cuvalier, and a number of other teachers. So a recognition like this is really about all of the people that help you. It's not one person's recognition. And I think that I can only hope that at some point along some other student's timeline, I'm on there somewhere as a teacher or a coach. And I think the biggest compliment you can be paid is to have people come back and teach with you or coach somewhere along the way. So I hope I get to do that at some point, teach or coach with former students. And I want to last thank my wife, Carolyn, who is herself a wonderful teacher and very inspiring to me. And thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, and go Rams.
All right, well deserved. Is there anything to be gleaned from the fact that you coached him, so therefore you went into teaching rather than professional sports, or is there?
Well, Louis' upside was limited by his coaching that he got in 7th and 8th grade.
That was kind of the dots I was connecting, but
He really excelled when he got away from us and got into high school.
Okay, very good. Congratulations again. All right, brings us to board salutes.
All right, I will start. We have a great big shout out to Dollar General, who provided a $50,000 literacy grant to Table Mound Elementary School, and this was a big surprise to the school on Friday that nobody knew. That was one of the best kept secrets for a school district to receive that kind of a funding. Dollar General is very supportive of schools and their communities, and they provide funding with great flexibility at the local schools, and the schools can decide how that money is to be spent to support literacy. We want to say thank you to Dollar General locally and nationally for its support in our future. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Mr. President, I have a board salute to Forum Custodian Jean Vogt, who again held her annual fundraiser to provide a wonderful Christmas for the children of students at the Alta Vista campus. Jean annually takes a day of vacation and then spends it at the office to provide a homemade meal for the Forum staff and district leadership team to enjoy. The free will donations gathered at the luncheon totaled an astonishing $1,619. These funds will be used to provide gifts to make the holidays brighter for these young children. So recognition to Jeannie Vogt. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a salute. It's more on a sad note. I'd like to take a moment to remember a Jefferson Middle School art teacher and wrestling coach, Matt Morehouse, who passed away unexpectedly this week. Mr. Morehouse began in the district in 2003 at Table Mound Elementary School and joined the staff at Jefferson Middle School in 2012. As an art teacher, his impact reached students across grade levels throughout the school, touching the lives of thousands of students. Our thoughts go out to the family, friends, and colleagues and students who mourn his loss.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I move that the Board of Education suspend the rules of order and go into open forum.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education suspend the rules of order and go in open forum. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, at this time, I invite anybody to come forward to the podium to address the board. Normally, we allocate 3 minutes, but seeing that Representative Eisenhardt has joined, we've decided to extend it to 3.5. So thanks for joining us tonight.
I know we recently had a chance to get together to talk about issues that education issues weren't the top billing, so I thought I'd come back and maybe talk about education more in a top billing way. And actually, I saw Mr. Reingans at the basketball game, and he said I had 60 minutes, so we'll try to compromise.
He didn't carry this. I got it.
Maybe 30 or something like that. But, pass goes long. Chuck Eisenhardt, State Representative, House District 100. I represent 30,000 people on the east and north side of Dubuque, a subset of your constituency. That includes this building and any of the employees that you have working 24 hours a day and sleep on a cot. So I thought it would be useful for me to come and give you a little maybe peek into what we might expect to see during this upcoming legislative session, and perhaps for the benefit of the public who are watching the broadcast tonight. Education issues, again, especially for House Democrats, will remain a top priority, both funding and policy. And for that reason, you probably won't see a whole lot of that referenced on my letter. My commitment to those issues is kind of implicit in our broader caucus commitment to those issues. Maybe we'll mention one or two of them in passing, but these kind of represent my personal priorities that I adopted before the election. I wanted to do that because regardless of whether I'm in the majority or the minority, my priorities are the same. And I wanted to highlight a couple of things that may be embedded within those priorities that have relevance to the school district and education, because one of the roles I see as a state representative is I kind of have a convening function where I can bring stakeholders together in the community around mutual interests and maybe help access state resources that might be available, but also try to bring some momentum behind those issues that otherwise wouldn't be there because not all the people are necessarily gathered around the same table. So if you're begging your indulgence, I'd like to maybe cover a few of those and then respond to any questions that you might have. I mentioned at the meeting where all the local elected officials shared their legislative priorities that I have kind of 5 issues that I'm working on and have committed to over the last several years. One is kind of new and I think is relevant to this body. I'm working on clean water and soil health, clean energy and climate action, local food system development to improve public health and diversify our agricultural economy, economic workforce development to benefit or empower populations who are underserved by or disadvantaged in our community, and more recently, access to health care, particularly treatment for mental health and substance abuse. And I know that's an issue in the schools. One of the students from Hempstead High School came as part of the State of Iowa Youth Advisory Council and highlighted that for us, Jack Hostiger. So I want to just mention, beneath that, there are some things I mentioned as specific areas that might be worth some attention and collaborative effort. I think a few of those are relevant to the school district. Under the clean water, I can tell you one thing. I'm going to again renew my commitment this year to make sure that we don't scoop any of the school infrastructure dollars for other priorities, including clean water, which the governor wanted to do last year, frankly, for lack of more visionary ideas. We do believe, I think everybody in the legislature believes, that we need to give significant resources to that issue. And frankly, many more people since then have come to the realization that that's going to require new revenues, new sources of funding, and not scooping dollars that are currently committed to other causes. I do believe there is a need to address the question of the future of that sales tax, and we understand that school districts' bonding authority is limited by that sunset that's arriving, and that we need to look at that. But I also believe that there is an issue surrounding what is the actual dollar need beyond 2029, and the better job we do at documenting what still is undone in the districts, the better chance we'll have to negotiate a potential increase or a later sunset on that particular program. That's a conversation that I think is worth having, not just in Dubuque, but in this entire Northeast area, perhaps through the superintendents that we meet with on a regular basis. But otherwise, the state has a program called Water Rocks in the Dubuque, or in the Department of Natural Resources. It's a program that several teachers in the district have taken advantage of in terms of going to a summit where they learn how to use those resources and incorporate it in their classwork. It's a good example of the kind of program that I'd like to find ways to connect the district with in the future. On the clean energy area, just to mention a couple, I've been a long-term advocate of finding ways to reduce our energy consumption through adoption of renewable energy technologies and energy efficiency programs. I think there are some possibilities of finding creative ways to use that sales tax money to make those investments in your buildings in a way that will allow you to save money on the operational side through your utility expense that then would be available for you to put into programming activities. So I'd be willing to work with you to connect you with some resources to maybe explore some of those options. Solid waste management, food discards, those are some of the areas I know that the district has looked at through some of the creative student activities in the recent past. On the local food and healthy food front, you may have read that this year the Iowa Healthy Estate Initiative piloted with the city of Dubuque on a double-up food bucks program through the Dubuque Farmers Market. We've, through Mercy Hospital, the city, the county, and some private sources, have identified some funding for that program to continue next summer. And we know that there are a number of schools in this district that have large numbers of students coming from families that have food needs, as reflected in their use of the free and reduced lunch program. There may be some creative ways we can team up to get some of the benefits of that program to those families through the students. That's something that I'd be interested in exploring with you next spring. And also related to that, we've all know that diet-related illness is a major problem, and that's certainly an issue in some of our schools. Most recently, I've been, as part of the National Conference of State Legislatures, working with a group called the Hunger Partnership that engages state legislators with non-governmental organizations to address hunger issues. And one of the issues, one of the options or projects that they're looking at is what can we do to perhaps integrate universal free school breakfasts into all schools in the country, frankly. But I know that when I was a kid, the more hungry I was when I came to school, the more likely I spent all morning looking forward to lunch rather than paying attention to the content of the classes I was going to in the morning. So that's an ambitious thing. I know some of that's done now in this district, but maybe Dubuque can help pioneer a look at making that universal in this community as a model for the state. In terms of the workforce and economic development issues, one of the focuses that I've had for a long time through this work and also Dubuque Area Labor Management Council is workforce education and recruitment, particularly to benefit disadvantaged and underemployed populations. For me, that certainly encompasses at-risk students. And the better we can do, provide a future and some hope to at-risk students by supplying them with the skills and knowledge they need to enter the workforce seamlessly, the better for all of us. I'd love to work with you on some of those issues as well. And finally, in the area of mental health and substance abuse, we've all read the headlines, how this is plaguing the country. Saw an article in Washington Post this morning said that for the first time, the number of opioid or heroin deaths in the state has increased so that it now exceeds the number of deaths by gun violence. And we all know what a problem gun violence has been in recent years. So this is a woeful measure of the opioid epidemic and the substance abuse epidemic in our communities. Dubuque is certainly not immune to that. Mercy Health Center has been working with me and others to advance some community-based efforts around that issue, and they recently had their gala, their annual gala, and they're dedicating all of the proceeds of that to funding a community-based opioid response. I think the community school district should be part of that collaborative effort and would look forward to identifying maybe some folks from the district to participate in that, because prevention at a young age is a huge part of the solution. So those are just a few of the activities that I look forward to maybe working on a few of those. It's started to turn into maybe a little bit of a laundry list there by the end. And I wanted to mention to you just as a concluding remark and maybe in passing that I had a chance to speak this fall at the civics class up at senior high school. And about that time, I was contacted by a 10th grader at senior high, Subhani Ram. She has been appointed to be one of the members of the State of Iowa Youth Advisory Council this year. And she has told me that she would like to pick an education issue, such as maybe the 3/8 cents or the 1 cent sales tax, as an issue to learn about and to advocate as a potential priority for that youth advisory council at the state level. And I suggested to her that if it worked for her and perhaps worked for some of you, that I'd be willing to help her maybe co-host a public meeting where we could educate her, obviously, but also the broader community about some of the issues involved in that. And it might be a good part of her, the educational component of what public policy and generating good public policy ideas and what needs to get done to take them to successful fruition is all about. And certainly gathering public input and developing public support for whatever the youth priorities are is an important piece of that. So looking forward to working with one of your students and bringing her education to Des Moines and also what she learns there back to Dubuque. Thanks for your attention. I know I went a little beyond 3.5 minutes, but hopefully it was worth the time investment.
Any questions for Representative Eisenhart?
Thank you.
Well, I won't be back on a Monday night probably for 3 or 4 months, but hopefully the weather will be a lot better when I do return.
Well, we'll
Thank
be in
you.
Des Moines to see you.
Yeah.
See you there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Are there any other persons wishing to address the board at this time?
I move that the Board of Education reinstate the rules of order and return to regular session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education reinstate the rules of order and return to regular session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Consent agenda.
I move that the Board of Education approve those items listed in the consent agenda.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve those items listed in the consent agenda. Are there any board members wishing to remove any items for separate consideration? Not hearing any. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. That brings us to Facilities Support Services Committee report. Mr. Byteen.
Thank you, Mr. President. A handful of motions this evening. The first being, I move that the Board of Education receive and approve the June 30th, 2016 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. And I believe we'll be hearing from Mr. Kelleher on that front.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education receive and approve the June 30th, 2016 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. And Mr. Keller.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Ryan Gans. Tonight we're asking you to approve the acronym called CAFR. It's the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for the year. This is the time of year where you do this on an annual basis. The CAFR is really our report of our financial statements for the past fiscal year. The financials are audited by a local CPA firm, and they issue a report. The CAFR consists of 4 sections, and I think we will put this on the website sometime this week for the public to look at and view. And if they were to look at, I would suggest looking at a few of the sections, and we'll talk about them tonight. The CAFR consists of 4 sections. There's an introductory, which is an introduction to the document, and it kind of explains what's behind all of the information there. There's a financial statement section, which has our financial statements for all of our funds. Also, our notes to the financial statements are there. There's a statistical section, which shows a 10-year history of many of the financial data, so you can use that to compare 10 years back. And then the last section is a compliance section, and that's where the auditors tell us whether we complied with the rules and regulations and things like that, and they issue comments. So I suggest looking at that. The introductory really, as I said, explains the CAFR, and it also includes a statement showing that our last year's CAFR, we submit that to an outside agency for them to review besides the auditors, and they make sure, kind of do a double check on the document to make sure everything in it is up to standards of the accounting world. So we're happy to put that in there. Also, we will be applying for that award again with this year's CAFR. Another piece that people should review is the independent auditor's report. And that's where the auditor comes in and says what type of, he looks at the financial statements and issues an opinion. And the opinion we received this year was unmodified, which has been the opinion we received for many, many years, which is the best opinion you can receive. Another piece to look at is the management discussion and analysis section. And that is really a kind of a story or an oral summary of all the numbers behind the financial statements. It gives the reader a better understanding of the numbers and what they mean. Pieces of that, include our 2016 highlights. What effects or what things took place that affected our financial statements in this past fiscal year. It also includes some tables that you can compare 2016 to 2015. It also includes a section on the individual funds, our general fund, our sales tax fund, a Pebble, kind of explains in an, oral summary of what took place in those different funds. And finally, it also shows economic factors that are bearing on the current year that we're in and also future years, what things are out there that may affect our financials going forward. So I think it's important to look at those. The final couple documents I think are important are the auditor's report on internal control. And what the auditor reported is he did not have any findings when he studied our internal controls at the district. He did not come across anything that we need to change or we should implement. Another report is his report on our federal programs. This is the reason we have our audit done is because we receive federal dollars and have to have an audit completed. So they look at those programs that generate that audit, and again, we did not have any findings. And then the last section to look at is called the Schedule of Findings and Questioned Costs. And that's where the auditor puts in other comments that he may find that we need to change or look at. One comment that they made is a statutory comment. So the law says he has to comment on our certified enrollment. And this year, there's a comment because we were off by one student. And the way I look at that is, with 10,500 students, we're off by one. I think we do a very, very good job of counting our kids accurately. I think a lot of, if you were to look at other UENs, that number would be substantially higher than just one. So I think we do a good job there. And then he had no other, let's call them non-statutory comments. That's just suggestions or recommendations that we do for changes. He didn't have anything for us for this year. So I want to personally take this time to thank my staff as well who work on this. Rick Till and Joan Steffen spend quite a bit of time gathering the data, putting it together, and then presenting it in this document. So I want to thank them for all their hard work. Did anyone have any questions on the document?
I would just make a statement as, once again, evidence of how well your staff and your team does in preparing these reports and meeting the statutory needs, but also going beyond that and ensuring that we're in good financial conditions. So we appreciate the work that you and your team has done.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any other discussion? If not, there's a motion and a second on the table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Thank you.
Mr. President, next is I move that the Board of Education approve the donation of a Gaga pit to the Prescott School in the amount of $480.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the donation of a Gaga pit to Prescott School in the amount of $480. Will you demonstrate or will you just describe?
Well, I have to admit to the audience that I was unknown. I was not aware of what a Gaga. I'm just kind of getting over what pickleball is. So there's a young man, a scout in the audience this evening who is spearheading that effort as part of his Eagle. If he'd like to take a moment and just
That'd be
say
great.
a word or two.
Absolutely.
Sure, that'd be great.
Up here.
All right.
I was approached by the janitor.
Maybe say your name.
Oh, yeah. My name's Jack Spaldman. I'm from Troop 51. And a couple months ago, I was approached by the janitor. I'm looking for an Eagle project, and he'd come to me, Jeff Allen, he's over there as well, and said that right now they're using card tables as the pit, so I decided that I would take that and try to help out the school board and help the school district and kids at that school and give them something to actually use. And it will be portable and painted the school colors.
And this is, my understanding, this is a kind of an added adaptive version of dodgeball, but it's a
Right.
ricochet. The ball has to hit the field before it strikes
Correct.
another individual.
Yep.
Is that correct?
And it has to hit from the knees down, so
So
significantly
those of us
safer,
who never
I
like
guess.
dodgeball don't get hit in the face with it.
If you have young kids, you know what it is and how much they enjoy it. It's really very popular right now.
Past 5 years, yeah, it's been coming in.
Yeah.
And you'll begin the project.
As hopefully within the month, I'll begin it, and then I'll have it done by the beginning of March. So
Outstanding.
And then the other 17 schools would like to know when you're going to build it.
I'll get right on that after this one. Yep.
You heard it here first.
Right,
Well,
we
thank you very much for
Yeah, not a
Hey,
problem.
Jack, where did that name come from?
What?
The name?
The name came from how you start the game. You start it by bouncing it 3 times, and as it's bouncing, you say got, and then the final hit, you say ball, and you hit it with your hand. So that's kind of how it started. Any other questions?
No, please.
So
Yeah.
no copyright infringement for Lady Gaga.
No, I don't believe so, no.
That's fantastic. Thanks for
You got to throw it off the ground so you don't poke her face. Lady Gaga.
Okay, let's move on.
With that,
Yes, so,
Good, though.
yeah. So I think there's a motion and a second on the table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
thank you. Move the Board of Education approve the donation of picnic tables to Audubon School in the amount of $600.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the donation of picnic tables to Audubon School in the amount of $600. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move the Board of Education authorize administration to submit to the Iowa Department of Education a request for modified supplement amount for the at-risk dropout prevention for the 2017-18 school year in the amount of $4,970, $4,907,000. $70,880, or the maximum allowed, is such a number I couldn't
I
read. Or maximum allowed by the department.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education authorize administration to submit to the Iowa Department of Education a request for modified supplement amount for at-risk dropout prevention for the 2017-18 school year in the amount of $4,970,880, or the maximum allowed by the department. Any discussion?
Is that what it was about last year? About the same?
It's up slightly.
It's up a
It's
little
up
bit.
slightly. It's a percentage of your student body that you're allowed to, if they meet the requirements of a student who's considered at risk or dropout. So it's how we pay for a lot of our programs. ALC is partially paid for that. Re-engagement Center. I mean, there's a long list, and Shirley Horstman, who's in the audience, really oversees with a lot of input from principals as well as David Olson, Nancy Bradley, and others this budget. But it does a lot of great work for our students who are most in need, or some of the ones who are most in need.
Yep. Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move that the Board of Education approve change order number 1 to Conlin Construction Company on the senior renovation and addition project in the increased amount of $22,158.60.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve change order number 1 to Conlin Construction Company on the senior renovation and addition project in the increased amount of $22,158.60. Any discussion?
I think this had to do with soil conditions. Bill, do you want to let our community know more about that briefly?
It sure seems to be a common situation that we deal with all the renovation projects we have, but basically it's for soil stabilization. you drive by Senior now, you can see the new administration area and the steel going up, and a lot of that was there and in the courtyard. So obviously you got to have a good foundation before you build on it, and in this case that's the soil. So we'll see this again coming forward, but we're probably 50%, maybe 60% through this. So I'm sure we'll be back, but this has all been verified and checked by the architect and Buildings and Grounds, and we recommend the approval of it.
Great. Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move the Board of Education approve change order number 3 to Eastern Iowa Excavating and Concrete LLC on the Hoover Bus Drive Improvement Project in a decreased amount of $5,223.46.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve change order number 3 to Eastern Iowa Excavating and Concrete LLC on the Hoover Bus Drive Improvements Project in the decreased amount of $5,223.46. We love decreased change orders. Yes, we do. Yep. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Likewise, this is another decrease. I move the Board of Education approve change order number 3 to McDermott Excavating on the Irving Parking improvement projects in the decreased amount of $5,909.25.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve change order number 3 to McDermott Excavating on the Irving Parking Improvements Project in the decreased amount of $5,929.25. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mike, can I just thank Bill and Charlie? You know, for those of us, which aren't too many of us, who were around 15 years ago when we really started the onslaught of new renovations because of the 1 cent tax, we used to have a lot of change orders. And I'm not, you know, that's not necessarily the fault of any one group. But with Bill and Charlie, the articulation I think that probably goes on from what we're asking of architects and contractors is better. Bill and Charlie's supervision of this is just so much better. And I think it makes it easier for the architects and the contractors as well. And it's just so much easier without the wear and the tear that we would have on budgets and just the decision making and the time. Back in the day, we would have change order after change order after change order sometimes. And again, no fault being assigned in any direction. But it's just great with Bill and Charlie's watch to see this, the number of change orders be a fraction of what it was 10, 15 years ago.
Hear, hear.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep. Mr. Beatty?
I move the Board of Education approve final acceptance of the Transportation Department asphalt replacement project and authorize payment of final project cost to McLean Excavating Company Incorporated in the amount of $22,896.07 in accordance with the requirements of Iowa law and as more fully outlined in the submitted authorizing resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve final acceptance of the Transportation Department asphalt replacement project and authorize payment of final project cost to McLean Excavating Company, Inc. in the amount of $22,896.07 in accordance with the requirements of Iowa law and is more fully outlined in the submitting authorizing resolution. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Always nice when we can complete a project.
Indeed.
I move the Board of Education tentatively approve the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of total cost for the Hempstead Athletic Improvements Project and set the date, time, and location as February 13th, 2017 at 5:30 p.m. at the Forum, 2300 Cheney Road, Dubuque, Iowa, for a hearing thereon, and further authorize the advertisement for competitive bids.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education tentatively approve the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of total costs for the Hempstead Athletic Improvements Project and set that date, time, and location as February 13, 2017 at 5:30 p.m. at the Forum, 2300 Cheney Road, Dubuque, Iowa, for a hearing thereon and further authorize the advertisement for competitive bids. Any discussion?
It's always nice when we can start a project.
I was thinking the same
Just when we
thing.
cross one off the to-do list.
Add another. We got to keep Bill and Charlie busy, don't we? Yes. Yeah. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
And finally, I move the Board of Education approve the agreement with IIWPC for the Hoover roof replacement project in the amount of $12,800.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the agreement with IIWPC for the Hoover Roof Replacement Project in the amount of $12,800. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Anything else, Mr. Byteen?
That will do it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, ed programs and strategy. Ms. Whitney.
At our last ed programs, I'll just highlight a couple things. The 21st Century Grant that does expire in 2016 is being applied for. We also had some parents addressing the committee regarding the parental notification on literacy books, and that's being looked into further. And I have a couple of recommendations. I move that the Board of Education approve the physical education exception request form as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the physical education exemption request form as submitted. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I also move that the Board of Education set the date, time, and location for a public hearing on the 2017, 2018, and the 2018 and 2019 school calendars for January 9th, 2017 at 5:30 p.m. at the Forum, 2300 Cheney Road in Dubuque.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education set the date, time, and location for a public hearing on the 2017-18, 2018-19 school calendars for January 9th, 2017 at 5:30 p.m. at the Forum, 2300 Cheney Road, Dubuque, Iowa. Any discussion?
One thing you'll notice is that it's a 2-year calendar proposal as opposed to 1 year. You know that each of the last 2 or 3 years we've done a lot of surveying of folks within the community about what they wanted in a calendar. And one of the things that began to crop up is they would like some consistency. In other words, they'd like to know a little further in advance what the calendar is going to look like. So 17-18 and the 18-19 look fairly similar. We try to put the major events as closely in that calendar as we can. There's, the calendar changes from time to time, different holidays, or if it's a third Monday of the month, sometimes that gets set back a full week. And so there are a few minor changes, but really it's an attempt to be a little bit more systematic with the calendar and giving the folks, parents, and really the whole community an opportunity to look at that calendar for multiple years in a row. Especially for our partners who provide programming when we're not in session, to begin to plan what those programs might look like for those kids when we're on break. So it's available on the website, I believe today, or will be tomorrow. Mike's shaking his head, so it is. So feel free to make comment, and we'll bring it back in a month for the hearing.
Very good. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Brings us to new business.
I move that the Board of Education take no further disciplinary action for students number 802340 and number 807229 and number 807654 at this time.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education take no further disciplinary action for students 802340, student 807229, and student 807654 at this time. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Brings us to board member comments, questions, concerns. Hearing none. Any from administration?
Our only concerns have to do with the weather.
Weather. Try to keep warm.
Absolutely.
Get it right this year,
Well,
Lee.
we're trying. So.
All right. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.